Everyone knows that Victor Wembanyama is a generational type of talent, but still, a player who just turned 21 years old shouldn't be able to go toe-to-toe with a three-time MVP like Nikola Jokic while dropping 35 points and 18 rebounds. And he shouldn't be breaking everyone at Madison Square Garden in his Christmas Day debut while having a 42-point, 18-rebound and 4-block game. Right now, Wemby is looking almost impossible to game plan for. We gotta remember, this guy who currently owns a massive 2.5% of the NBA's total blocks this season is also the same player who since December 1st has made the 7th most 3-point shots in the entire league. But amidst the infinite number of blocks and the emerging long 3-pointers at this stage, I think a more subtle aspect of Wembanyama's game that needs to be talked about more is his passing ability, which is a skill that's actually redefining his potential as well as that of the San Antonio Spurs. Well, as has usually been the case for younger players, the ability to leverage defensive attention and to consistently turn that into a positive outcome for teammates can actually take years and years to develop even for star point guards, let alone for a big man like Wembanyama. But then, being able to quickly develop that high-level passing ability is what ultimately separates great offensive players from actual legends in the making, and right now, Victor Wembanyama is showing why he actually belongs to the latter category. Well, Wemby just played the 100th game of his NBA career last week, and there have only been two other 7-footers in NBA history who have recorded more assists than Wembanyama after the first 102 games of their careers. Well, sure, Wemby's currently pretty much averaging the same number of assists than he did as a rookie, but his increasing comfort as a passer is highlighted by the fact that in the past month of December, Wemby has actually averaged 7.8 potential assists per game, which is the most he's averaged in any month of his career so far. And while it might definitely be too early to view Wembanyama as a future elite playmaking big man, it's worth noting that since December 1st, Wembanyama has also recorded a 21.7 assist ratio, which is the 4th highest assist ratio by any big man within that span of time this season, only behind Nikola Jokic, Domantas Sabonis, and Alperen Şengün, who are most probably the 3 best playmaking big men in the NBA right now. So in this video, let's dive into the different ways that Victor Wembanyama is decoding defensive matchups and how he's adding an emerging passing game to his already scary two-way arsenal. So let's get to it. As soon as they enter the NBA, the greatest playmakers are able to make correct split-second decisions after another. They are able to anticipate what the defense is gonna do, and they are able to process all the commotion without getting sped up. We've seen that from players like Luka Doncic most recently, but so far, it's also a type of evolution that we're witnessing from Victor Wembanyama. Once Wemby makes his move on the post, he'll suddenly be surrounded by the entire defense in the paint, and yet he still seems to have so much time on his head to process things and to make an extra pass. Then sometimes when he tries to initiate plays from the top of the key, defenses would try to counter by switching a smaller guy onto him, but you'll see Wemby taking advantage of that switch by setting up a pass for a cutting teammate. But then sometimes, as he works his way into the paint and as he attracts the defense, it looks like Wemby's gonna shoot, but then he sees a teammate and he just makes a last-second dime. Right here, after setting the screen for Chris Paul, Wemby rolls to the paint and basically just forces the Knicks to form a wall. It looks like he's gonna rise up for a jumper, but when he sees Sochan getting space around the dunker spot, Wemby makes the split-second decision, throwing him that perfectly timed lob pass. This time, you can see Wemby operating on the low block trying to use the mismatch against Malik Monk. Right here, Wemby could have easily forced a jumper, but seeing Harrison Barnes about to make that cut to the baseline, he makes the last-second effort to fake a shot to draw the defense further in before dishing out that one-handed dime to Barnes. Elite players know how to take advantage of the defensive attention that they're repeatedly getting, and Wembanyama is starting to get more and more comfortable doing that. He's facing increasingly tougher defensive coverages as a response to his growing threat as a dominant scorer, and the more range is developing, the more lethal his playmaking becomes. The thing is, right now, with Wembanyama also becoming more comfortable and more accurate when launching 28-foot jumpers from behind the arc, defenses are starting to pick him up way higher on the floor. But then again, Wembanyama's vision and unselfishness is also propelling him one step ahead of these coverages. In this semi-transition play, you can see Chris Paul setting up the trailing Wembanyama, and right here, with Wemby having all the space in the world to launch from deep, watch how 3 Nuggets defenders rush into him to make the contest. But this just opens up a wide open lane for 2 Spurs, so Wemby makes the easy drop pass to Johnson, who finishes the and one at the basket. This time, after setting a screen for Trey Jones, Wemby pops to the side and is ready to launch from deep, forcing the closeout from 2 defenders. This gives Wemby a lot of options, but he identifies the best outlet on the weak side, so he makes the swing pass to the cutting Keldon Johnson, who makes the acrobatic finish at the rim. Most notably though, Victor Wembanyama's most assisted player in his second year so far has been Jeremy Sochan. Specifically this season, 33.8% of Wemby's assists to Sochan have come via shots at the rim, most of which are lob passes, which isn't surprising. With Sochan not being a shooting threat from deep, on the offensive end, he tends to either cut off Wemby's drives or he simply hovers around the dunker spot, making him a constant passing outlet around the paint for Wembanyama. The good thing about this is that even if he's not always in the perfect position to catch Wemby's passes, with Sochan's 6'8" frame and vertical athleticism, he's still able to convert on a majority of those dimes. Here, on a loose ball situation, you can see the ball getting to Wemby and just watch him blow by Fred VanVleet. At this point, he already sees Sochan signaling for a lob, but with a couple more defenders in the lane, Wemby pulls a Euro step to further close the gap before making the dime to Sochan, who makes the athletic reverse finish. This time in transition, Wemby brings the ball down court himself, and knowing that Sochan is about to attack the lane, Wemby stops on a dime and just throws this super high lob pass, which Sochan somehow manages to catch before making the tough reverse finish at the rim. Well, again, Wembanyama is averaging practically the same number of assists per game as last season, but there are different contextual factors that contribute to his growth as a playmaker that aren't necessarily tracked by the numbers. And I think one of the most overlooked components of his growth as a playmaker is how Wemby's also starting to figure out the best ways to utilize his surreal physical tools to create scoring opportunities for teammates. For instance, he's now doing a much better job of taking advantage of his crazy 8-foot wingspan to make wraparound passes around defenders, which would have been otherwise deflected if it was other players making those passes. Right here, you can see Wembanyama receiving the pass off the inbound. Here, the threat of him attacking the paint forces the quick help from Lonzo Ball, which now gives Trey Jones an open lane to make the 45 cut. Wemby capitalizes by using those super long arms to make the quick laser pass to Jones right under the basket. Also, Wembanyama's 7'3" frame makes him the tallest player on the court practically all the time. This allows him to survey the floor in high leverage situations and to easily make his passing reads while seeing above everyone else. Right here, Wemby backs down the Aaron Fox in a mismatch, and as expected, he attracts Keegan Murray as a help defender underneath. This leaves Barnes slightly open around the dunker spot, but Wemby sees over the double team and he makes the better read by throwing the line drive pass to the wide open Stephon Castle, who makes the three-pointer. This time, you have Wemby receiving the entry pass on the post, and right here, using his peripheral vision is enough for Wemby to see how everyone else around him is moving. He sees Keldon Johnson about to cut, and even while defended by the 7-foot Cal Filipowski, Wemby's size just allows him to make the perfect pass to Johnson. But it's not just the size that gives Wembanyama an advantage as a passer, it's also because of the fluidity with the ball in his hands. You just don't typically see 7'3" guys like Wembanyama handling the ball like a guard while at the same time leveraging that ability to create scoring windows for teammates. Right here, watch Wemby break down the defense of a 6'4" guard Brandon Pajemski in the perimeter, but as help defenders try to cut off his driving lane, Wemby clearly sees the gap on the weak side, so he smartly makes the perfectly timed lob pass to Julian Champagnie. Then this time, after grabbing the defensive rebound, you can see Wemby bringing the ball down court by himself, going coast to coast. Watch him with a quick shoulder fake to force the defender to commit to him, allowing him to set up Stephon Castle for the transition finish. Overall, Wembanyama already does a good job of making simple yet effective passing reads, although sometimes, the outsized confidence that we commonly see among young NBA superstars still shows for Wembanyama, which isn't surprising, considering he is, after all, a 21-year-old player who already carries a massive responsibility on both ends of the floor for San Antonio. Currently, Wemby's turnover rate ranks in the 33rd percentile among all big men, and his 1.74 bad pass turnovers per game is actually the second most among all centers this season, only behind Jarrett Allen. Still, I think a lot of Wembanyama's passes that end up as turnovers still mostly start from the right idea and would have been assists if only his teammates had thought that Wembanyama had the audacity to make those kinds of passes. Well, Wemby would still obviously get better as a decision maker, but at this stage, I think his willingness to be bold as a passer is really what matters. After all, having a superstar franchise center who can read the floor well and who wants to make life easier for his teammates should just reap long-term benefits for a Spurs franchise that's still figuring out the best ways to build around Wembanyama. Right now, Wembanyama already leads the NBA in blocks. He may eventually lead the NBA in scoring too, but his passing ability could be pivotal, as it is a skill that expands the list of players that the Spurs could actually play alongside him. Just imagine San Antonio trading for De'Aaron Fox, a point guard who has constantly used his speed and athleticism to thrive off the playmaking of Domantas Sabonis. Well, sure, Wembanyama still isn't Sabonis as a playmaker, but just think of how much better he can become in a couple more years, and imagine just how much inverted pick and rolls he would be able to run with De'Aaron Fox. Or maybe think about how deadly the Spurs frontcourt could become if they somehow land Lauri Markkanen, a 7-foot forward who's comfortable operating as a catch-and-shoot guy and who can also double as a weak side cutter for Wembanyama when he operates on the post. Basically, as the San Antonio Spurs eventually make strides to acquire all-star level talent to pair with Wembanyama, his emerging playmaking raises a fundamental question to the rest of the NBA, and that is, how could anyone watch this guy play so unselfishly as a generational talent and not want to be his teammate? That is definitely a thought that should terrify the rest of the league for the foreseeable future. So thank you guys if you actually made it this far into the video, and if you actually enjoyed this one, please do me a favor by hitting that like button. It only takes a second of your time, but it definitely goes a long way and it will be much appreciated. Also, feel free to drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and again, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Again, this has been Real Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.